Hello again. I'm going to dedicate this video to the topic of split ends. I've gotten a lot of questions and comments on this topic, so I think it's important to cover the facts in detail.
In this video, I'm going to go over what split ends are, the different types of split ends, how to prevent them, and some helpful solutions on what to do if you already have them. Split ends, or a scientific term, Trichoptilosis, is inevitable for anyone with hair. It occurs when there is any type of damage to your cuticle. Damaged or missing cuticles leaves your fragile cortex exposed. Without the proper amount of protection from your cuticle layers, your hair strand will begin to split into two or more sections. Split ends are not necessarily just a split in your strand. On a microscopic level, it's really a very rough tear in your strand, similar to what it looks like when you break a wooden branch. That's why when you have a lot of cuticle damage to your ends, it appears more frizzy and bushy. Splits in your hair can come in all shapes and sizes. Here's an illustration of most of the different types of splits that can occur in your hair. Most splits start out as single splits, but then they evolve into either a triple, feather, tree, double Y, long, or a deep split. This progression is inevitable, but can be substantially slowed down with proper care and treatments. I've isolated a few types because through experience and research, I know that these are the more common and the most visibly noticeable splits to occur on an otherwise healthy head of hair. Many of us, especially those with kinky or curly hair, have visibly seen these four common types of splits. A hair strand split into two on the ends is the most common and, quite honestly, is part of the natural process of regular wear and tear that your hair goes through. Usually, more complicated splits start out as single splits. FYI, your hair never really splits into two equal parts. One branch of the split is usually a lot thinner than the other. Tapering occurs when one of the branches, usually the thinner one, breaks off. What's left behind is a thinner hair strand starting from where the branch broke off down to the end of your hair shaft. The longer or straighter your hair is, the more noticeable tapering is. I'm not sure of the origin of this false myth, but many of us still believe that you must trim or cut your hair when you have split ends to avoid the split from traveling up the entire hair strand. This is simply not the case. First, when a split occurs, it never really happens down the middle. One branch is often thinner than the other, and because of that, the thinner branch usually peels away and breaks off. You can pamper and take care of your ends to substantially slow down the process of forming new splits. So rather than trimming your ends 4 times a year, with proper care, you can stretch that out to twice a year. Incomplete splits or holes occur mid-shaft. Think of it as a split that has not completely formed separate branches yet. These occur a lot with naturals that often wear their hair in tight puffs. If worn too tight, the area of your hair that is in contact with the hair tie becomes weak and experiences a lot of cuticle damage. Because this damage is occurring mid-shaft, the split will usually start off as an incomplete or a hole. The thinnest branch will break off, leaving a very thin and weak section mid-shaft and a new deep split. Single strand knots are extremely common with those with any type of texture in their hair. They happen when your hair strand loops around itself and tightens when you handle, comb, or wash your hair. These tight knots are almost impossible to undo and will eventually break at the knot. Eventually, this rough break will cause your hair strand to form new splits. While this is an inevitable process that will continue and continue until your hair strand is trimmed, there are certain things you can do to slow down the process.
Split ends may occur for a variety of reasons. A few of the most common reasons, which I'm sure you're all aware of, are color treating your hair, relaxers, frequently applying heat to your hair without the use of heat protectants, hydro fatigue, and rough handling. Apart from that, honestly, split ends, or better said cuticle damage, is a normal part of wear and tear. That's what they're there for, to take all the abuse. The less abuse, the less damage your strands will be, and the more abuse, the more damage they'll be. Think of it like the shield that protects you in sword fighting. The shield is there to protect you away from harm, so of course it's going to experience more damage. Get it?
Honestly, there is no way to prevent split ends. Unless your hair is not touched or moved for any reason, split ends are going to occur. So your goal should be to slow down the never-ending process. Here are a few suggestions on things you can do. When you do decide to trim your ends, make sure the shears you use are as sharp as possible. This makes your cuts a lot smoother and blunt. The less rough your cuts are, the less likely a new split will form. To avoid making them dull, make sure to store your shears in a dry place and to only use them for your hair and nothing else. In addition to using sharp shears to maintain your ends, the direction of your trim is also very important. Always snip straight across the ends of your hair, never at an angle. Angled trims increase the surface area of the new end, which introduces more opportunities for splits and breakage. Lastly, try to always trim your hair while it's dry. We are so accustomed to seeing hairstylists, often high-end hairstylists, cut hair while it's wet. They do this for many reasons, mainly because it's easier to see and to avoid a mess. But this can lead to split ends, especially if the shears are dull. Think about it this way. It's like cutting paper. Cutting wet paper does not give you as clean a cut as cutting dry paper. The same principle applies to your hair. This is pretty self-explanatory. The more heat and chemicals you use on your hair, the more cuticle damage you will have. And the more cuticle damage you have, the more split ends you'll get. And when you do decide to use heat, make sure to use a silicone-based heat protectant. Deep conditioning and real protein treatments are great for split end prevention. Real protein treatments strengthens your cuticles, and stronger hair cuticles will make split ends less likely to happen, while moisturizing deep conditioners help restore your hair's delicate moisture balance. Finding your correct moisture-protein balance will result in stronger elastic hair. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the increasingly popular LOC moisturizing method, where you start off with a liquid, then an oil followed by a cream. While this method does not harm your hair, I do not recommend it over the LCO method, which is to use a liquid, then a cream followed by an oil. I say this for many reasons. First, layering in order of the product's density or water amount makes it easier for the water molecules to absorb into your hair. With the cream sitting on top of the oil is blocking your hair's ability to absorb moisture and nutrients from the cream. What the popular LOC method does is that it creates a shiny illusion. It's not the hair that is shiny, it's the cream that's sitting on top of the oil that was not able to absorb into your hair that's shiny.
Many hair care brands claim that their products can repair or even heal split ends, but in reality this is not true. The most any product could ever do is to temporarily mend damaged cuticles. So for those of you that have split ends, which should be everyone, I recommend the use of real protein treatments to strengthen and slow down the process of forming new splits. Also, trimming is really important, but if your goal is to gain length, you shouldn't trim your hair too often. With proper care, you should limit your trims to twice a year. And that's it. I hope this video was informative. Remember, I post daily natural hair facts on Twitter, so follow me at Green Beauty Talk. We have a lot of interesting and exciting plans coming up for this channel, so please click the subscribe button below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!